Ladies and gentlemen, welcome today to another edition of the NASCAR Fantasy Podcast on the channel. We are going to talk all things prediction that has to deal with today's Atlanta race, the Quaker State 400. So, this is indeed going to be another special one here today. Um, of course, the track that my favorite driver, Ryan Blaney, went to victory lane in earlier this season. We'll see if he can go and get the Atlanta sweep. We'll look at some other favorites in the field, as well as maybe some drivers that aren't going to do so hot. Again, the predictions video, try to give you guys my best in-depth, unbiased fantasy advice for your guys' lineup today. First and foremost, as always, like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content right here on the YouTube channel. We talk all things NASCAR, of course, when it comes to the predictions, the post-race analysis, fantasy advice, of course, with these predictions and analysis videos as well. So thanks for everybody tuning in here this afternoon. We are about an hour away from the start of today's Atlanta Motor Speedway race. Drop of the green flag is scheduled for 3:48 Eastern Standard Time. Oni Carson Boy, welcome to the stream. So here we go. Before we hop on into the predictions for today's race, again, you can join the Fantasy League on the NASCAR mobile app or website. Go to the fantasy portion, sign up with your email. It is free to join. Search for KRC in all caps with a capital L for league. So KRC League, because you have a chance to win 2 tickets to any race of your choosing in 2022, excluding the Daytona 500, if you win either the regular season championship or the entire playoff championship at the end of the year. Everybody qualifies for the playoffs. Patrick Shadley, welcome to the stream as well. Truex going to the rear. I want to use him. Should I? We will get into that again. I'll go section by section. So each and every one of your guys' comments, questions that you have, we'll talk about like maybe the don't haves, the sleeper picks, and then the must haves as we usually do in that same order. So as I'm talking about a driver that we might come across, I'll end up talking about them. Again, I do try to look at the chat as much as I possibly can. So hold on to that question, Patrick, for the moments leading up to it. Everybody had the first guy. Okay, Oni had the first comment. There you go. All right, so as usual, we go with the don't haves. We got two drivers you should absolutely not have in your starting lineup for today, or even in your garage. You shouldn't have them in your lineup, period. I am not going to have either one of these two drivers either. And I think you got to start off with Christopher Bell. He has been struggling a lot lately, particularly with the 550 tracks this season, more so than the 750 tracks. I know he is coming off a second place finish at Road America last week, and I had him on the don't haves last week at Road America, and he proved me wrong. But his finishes on the mile and a half this season have not been particularly well. And the 5 races we have had this season on mile and a halves, his finishes go like this: 24th in the last mile and a half race at Kansas, a 28th at the Coke 600, a 21st place finish at Atlanta the last time we were here. He did get a top 10 and finish 7th at Las Vegas, and then Homestead, he ended up finishing 20th. So, again, 4 finishes of 20th or worse on mile and a half racetracks this season of the 5 mile and a half racetracks for Christopher Bell. And 21st at Atlanta earlier this year. He was just way off. Also, last year at Atlanta, when we only had one race at the racetrack, I know it was with Levine Family Racing and not Joe Gibbs Racing, but Christopher Bell also finished 18th in that race too, so not particularly well. Same package, same track, of course. Same tire wear, same everything. That is a 500-mile race, though. Of course, this is a 400-mile race, but still, even in the 400-mile races with the 550 package on these mile and a halves this season, Christopher Bell and that 20 team has been off. They have definitely been the fourth of all 4 teams so far this season at the Joe Gibbs Racing camp. So I do not look forward to being able to use Christopher Bell. I was actually looking at the driver usages I've had this season in fantasy, and I have not used Christopher Bell once this season. Now, I'm sure I plugged him into a lineup, and then maybe he had an issue that I put him in the garage. I don't really plan on using him anytime soon. Maybe for a road course coming up to the end of the season. We still got 2 more left in the regular season. I'll probably end up using him there, considering he has performed well on the road courses now. But the recent success doesn't really show to use Christopher Bell either. If we look at his stats on the season, Yes, he finished second last week at Road America, kind of breaking a curse that he had leading up to then. But he's only got 2 top 10 finishes, and even if we throw the All Star race in there, he finished outside the top 10 there too. So 2 finishes for Christopher Bell inside the top 10. That was a second at Road America last week and a ninth at Nashville. The only other top tens you'd have to go back to would be Richmond earlier this season, when he finished fourth, was the last, or I should say the third to last top 10 finish. Talladega 17, 28th at Kansas, 14th at Darlington, 21st at Dover, Coda 38th, Charlotte 24th, Sonoma 24th, All Star Race 11th, ninth at Nashville, kind of snuck in there with some late strategy because of the fuel strategy we saw for most of those guys inside the top 10 late. And Pocono, he wasn't too hot, 17th and 32nd, and then a second at Road America. So, although 2 of those top 10s have come in the last 4 races, that is an upside for Christopher Bell. But both of those were on 750 racetracks at Nashville and Road America. The 550 racetracks have not gone well for him. And even the third to last race that he finished in the top 10 in. Actually, now that I'm looking at this more in depth than what I already was, you'd have to go back to Las Vegas earlier this season, and that is the only finish on a the only finish on a 550 horsepower track that he has finished inside the top 10 this season. So not even just the mile and a halves that I put in my notes, but even the 550 tracks in general, like Pocono, and what other tracks have we had here? So actually, I'm not going to count the super speedway on there. I think the mile and a halves are the only 550 tracks that we've had this year outside of the Pocono doubleheader. Means Nashville was on a 750. That's probably why I only put the mile and a halves on there. Obviously, Pocono race is a lot different than the mile and a halves, but even with the package, though, that 20 team just can't seem to figure it out. Man. Yeah, Christopher Bell's a no-go. if all the stats are lining up against him, I'm saying that you guys shouldn't have him. Man, oh man, I have no more usages for Larson or Kyle Busch. Yeah, that is bad because those are the 2 hottest drivers right now on the circuit. But I don't have any more for Larson either. I do have some for Kyle Busch yet, but yeah, at least you used Larson when he was hot. I mean, he's been good in way more than 10 races already this season. I guarantee he's going to be good for these final 6 races of the regular season. So the odds of him actually staying that way not looking too good. R6, welcome on into the chat as well. So, again, no go on Christopher Bell. We'll quit talking about him now. The next guy on the don't have list that I have is going to be Chase Elliott. Elliott has not finished particularly well on the mile and a half racetrack so far this season. And actually, same goes for, like we said with Christopher Bell, the 550 track. So it's not just the mile and a halves. He did not perform well at Pocono also. Let me pull Chase Elliott's stats back up. So this season on the 550 package racetracks, Chase Elliott, we're going to exclude the All-Star race on this one. Chase Elliott, 27th, 12th at Pocono, but then it's like, okay, that track race is different. Let's look at the mile and a halves. He did finish second in the Coke 600 and fifth at Kansas, so a little bit of upside in the middle of the season. Beginning of the year on the mile and a halves, 38th in the last race at Atlanta that we ran earlier this season, 13th at Las Vegas, and 14th at Homestead. So the argument could be that he has picked it up on the mile and a halves at least midway through the season, but then the last 2 550 tracks he went back to the way he was earlier this year, 12th and 27th at Pocono. So I don't have very high hopes for Chase Elliott today. Atlanta is probably one of his worst mile and a half racetracks. We already mentioned he finished 38th there earlier this season. He also finished in 2019, he finished 19th in that race as well. He did have a top 10 with a 10th place run there last season, but he didn't score. He only scored 3 stage points the entire race. He didn't score any stage points at stage 2. He finished 8th at the end of the first stage. finished 10th there late, so he's kind of running that 8th to probably 15th range most of the race, which isn't a bad point stay if he does that again today. But my predictions for Chase Elliott and Christopher Bell, I don't think either one of those two get a top 10, especially Bell. If any one of those two drivers could overcome that, I'd say Elliott, but I wouldn't say that's mostly because of him or his race team in general, the number 9 team, but I think that's more Hendrick Motorsports because we have seen them run better. And it's weird too because the mile and a half racetracks this season, and really the 550 tracks in general, the other drivers, we see Kyle Larson dominating these races. William Byron's ran really well in these races. He actually has a win on a mile and a half this season as well. Alex Bowman just won a 550 track at Pocono. He actually finished third here at Atlanta earlier this season as well. I have higher hopes for those other three Hendrick drivers versus Chase Elliott. If I had to pick any one of the Hendrick drivers to finish fourth, out of the four Hendrick drivers, I'd probably lean on Chase Elliott doing so. Save him for the road courses too. We still have 2 more road courses coming up. I definitely plan on doing that. I'll be able to start him another time outside of the road races, but I don't think Atlanta is going to be the right decision, not only for me, but I think you guys as well. Alrighty. I guys arguing about moderators again in the chat. Let's see. Tyler Burbeck, I'm only saving my final usage for Elliott for a road course. Yeah, Indy road course coming up, Watkins Glen. Elliott's just not a smart pick today. Not a smart pick. He doesn't have the overall success. I mean, he had success earlier in his career, Atlanta, 2016, 2017, but with this package since 2019, he's only got one top 10, and it was a 10th place run in 2019. And then even 2018, he finished 19th. So I don't trust, 2020 he finished 10th. 2019 he finished 19th. And then 2021, obviously this year he got in that accident. Or was it an accident or he had mechanical failure that made him finish 38th? Either way, he finished 38th. He started the season with the first 3 mile and a halves finishing 13th or worse in every single one of them. But yeah, I don't trust Chase Elliott. Although his stats have been better in recent weeks, obviously. Just like Christopher Bell, where Bell's kind of picked it up recently. Elliott has by far picked it up recently, but more so on the 750 tracks than the 550 tracks. So that's why, again, I don't trust that 9 team today, specifically today. I'm sure when we go to New Hampshire next week, they'll be right there. It's another 750 track. Again, we got a couple more road courses for the playoffs. He ran well at Daytona earlier this year, finished second as well. We got that. He can definitely slide back up into the standings a little bit more, but he might drop back today if he doesn't perform well, which, again, the odds are against him. Alrighty. On to the sleeper picks. So the don't haves again, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, if you're just tuning in. Those are the 2 drivers I do not have in my lineup today, nor should you guys finish my predictions for them both to finish outside the top 10. We get into the interesting, maybe the more interesting situation here every week with the predictions videos, probably talking about these sleeper picks because these are a lot harder to predict. These are guys that haven't really consistently finished well this season or in general throughout their career in some cases. So we're going to start things off talking about Chris Buescher. I have Chris Buescher finishing in the top 10 today, and here's why. He's got 3 top 10s on mile and a half racetracks this season, and 8th place in the Coke 600. He also finished 8th. Let's see here. Sorry, I know. I have to keep flipping back and forward on my pages between drivers. I can only take so much notes for these guys before it piles on top of each other. I thought I had this more organized when I started. We're in the early portion of this these sets of streams going live too, predictions and the post race analysis side. We've only been doing it for just over a month now. Before that, it wasn't live. Chris Buescher on mile and a half racetracks this season. Obviously, we know he won a stage on a mile and a half back at Homestead this season. Didn't get the finish that he probably deserved running there. He ended up finishing 19th. That was actually his worst finish on a mile and a half. But again, he got a stage win that day 14th at Vegas, not so hot, but the last 3.5 mile tracks have been great for him. 7th at Atlanta, right here earlier this season. 8th in the Coke 600, and he also finished 8th at Kansas. So 8th or better in the last 3.5 miles. He's got a stage win on 1.5 miles this season. He also, with JTG Doherty Racing last season in 2020, finished in 9th place. So that's pretty good there for Chris Buescher as well. So his last 2 races, 7th and 9th at Atlanta, 2 different teams. Or sorry, not 2019 with JTG Doherty Racing. He didn't race with JTG. I'm sorry, I'm getting all over the place with this today. This has been probably the sloppiest prediction video I think we've had with the live streams yet. But anyway, Christopher Bell, I expect him to run in the top 10 today. I don't expect him to score a lot of stage points. Honestly, if he is going to be in the top 10, he's probably going to be in the back half. But again, just finishing in the top 10, that's going to be a good, solid start in your lineup, or at least a garage pick at the very least in your lineup. He's going to be in my lineup personally today. Especially as you get later into the regular season, maybe you guys don't have as many usages left for some of these other drivers. I know you guys in the chat already have said I don't have Larson. Some guys don't have Kyle Busch. Not many usages out of Chase Elliott left. This is a race that obviously you could go without taking Chase Elliott in the lineup. I really, really have a lot of faith in Chris Buescher to run well today. And again, my predictions for him is a top 10. Ethan's Gaming Channel, welcome to the stream as well. Bowman wins off someone's mistake at the end of the race. That could happen. I mean, that could happen again. We saw Larson fade in this race late. Bowman did finish 3rd here earlier this season. That's a testament to Bowman just running consistent. And yes, he's in the right place at the right time. And people say, well, he got the win handed to him. Well, yeah, but he also put himself in that situation. We've seen that with pretty much every Ryan Blaney win so far in his career, too. I mean, you can't discredit those wins that Bowman and Blaney have gotten in their careers because they have put themselves in that situation to finish there consistently at the end of those races. Sleeper picks, Austin Dillon, Kurt Busch. Well, Tyler pretty much nailed the next 2 drivers I have for the sleeper picks. Chris Buescher being the first of those. The other 2 sleeper picks are Austin Dillon and Kurt Busch. We'll talk about Austin Dillon first. He finished 6th at Atlanta earlier this season. He has not finished outside the top 12 in the 5.5 mile races this season. Of course, the 1.5 mile races that have been excluding the All-Star race. So 6th in the last 1.5 mile race that we ran, or sorry, in the first one. He finished 6th at Atlanta this year, and then he ended up finishing 10th, 6th, 12th, and 12th. I think I have that reversed again. I don't know why I did it like that. I had backwards orders for all this. It's just easier for me to look up their profile because my notes are all messed up today. I was working on it all morning too. That's a sad part. I still messed it up. All right. 1.5 mile races for Austin Dillon so far this season. The last 1.5 miles we ran for a points race. He finished 6th, and that was at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Coke 600. He finished 10th at Kansas and finished 6th at Atlanta. So again, just like Chris Buescher, last 3.5 mile races, he finished in the top 10. Unlike Chris Buescher, where Buescher struggled for his finishing position at Homestead and Vegas, Austin Dillon finished 12th in both of those races. He's also got the extra track time with running the Xfinity race yesterday as a late sub for Junior Motorsports #1 team for Michael Annett. So he's got the extra lap times. I know he didn't run particularly well, but he had basically jumped into that car at the last second. So without fair warning, still got the lap times. That's going to help. We've seen with Kyle Busch here, especially these last few races, how much that helps. Extra track time at any racetrack. It doesn't matter what the car is. It's going to help. It's never going to hurt a driver. So I look for Austin Dillon to run particularly well here in this race. Again, another pick for a top 10, much like Chris Buescher. I think he can get 4 straight on these 1.5 mile racetracks. And then the other guy that also was mentioned there by Tyler, and another one I slightly mentioned, Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch has 11 top 10 finishes at Atlanta in the last 15 races. He's got 3 career wins here at Atlanta as well, 2002, 2009, and 2010. I know those were a decade or more ago, but again, the consistent finishes have been there. And if you remember earlier this season, this is something I kind of talked about during the live stream earlier in the week as well. Kurt Busch had a top 3 race car at Atlanta earlier this season before getting wrecked on a restart by Denny Hamlin being overly aggressive in stage 2 and bump drafting him in the middle of the roughest surface in NASCAR, and it ended up shooting Kurt Busch into the outside wall, unfortunately, and ended his day. That's why he didn't get the finish that he would have hoped for. It actually knocked him out of the race, and he had DNF'd after that. Again, Kurt Busch was in the top 3 in stage 1. He honestly looked like he could have been right there with Blaney and Bowman at the end of the race, and maybe that could have been Kurt Busch winning the race late instead of Ryan Blaney, knowing that they were both equal and battling each other on speed early on in the day. So if Kurt Busch can bring that same setup into this other car, because again, they wrecked that car, it's not going to be the same car exactly, but it can be almost a refurbished kind of race car where they're going to have that same setup going for them. I don't think the weather conditions are going to be the same. It's going to be obviously a lot hotter this time of the year too. But still, you also look at the fact, for Kurt Busch's sake, his only 2 career wins with Chip Ganassi Racing have come on mile and a halves with this package. 2019 at Kentucky and 2020 last year at Las Vegas. So he's got wins with this package, with this race team. I actually think he can compete for the win today. I definitely think he finishes in the top 10, much like Austin Dillon and Chris Buescher. I think he's got a very good shot at a top 5. I think he's going to score more stage points than Austin Dillon and Chris Buescher today. So of all the sleeper picks, Kurt Busch is the guy to go. Also, with Chip Ganassi Racing as a whole, not just Kurt Busch, but Chip Ganassi Racing has been on fire these last few weeks, let alone again, the mile and a half success that Kurt Busch has had with that race team, even prior to 2021. DRG, Kyle Larson fan, welcome on into the chat as well. Haven't been here in a minute. Hey, thanks for coming back, DRG. Greatly appreciated as always. Alrighty. Now into the must-haves. These are 3 drivers you should have in your lineup if you have them. Maybe for some of them you don't have them anymore for usages, but these are drivers that I think are going to run top 10. Good chance they'll contend for the win this season. I'm going to throw this guy out there first with the must-haves because I don't think he's going to win or I should say he's the least likely to contend for the win of these 3 drivers I'm going to talk about, but I think he's going to have a great day, and that's Kevin Harvick. Harvick has struggled with Stewart-Haas Racing this season. That's been obviously out there. Stewart-Haas Racing as a whole has struggled this season, but this is probably his best racetrack in his NASCAR Cup Series career, at least as far as consistent. I'd say Phoenix is its best racetrack. This is his second best racetrack still. Has 3 wins here in his career, 2001, 2018, and 2020, so he's won 2 of the last 4 races here. He's got 7 straight top 10s at Atlanta with 13 top 10s in the last 15 races, including 7 top 5s in those last 15 races. So although Kevin Harvick hasn't gotten the job done this year, he hasn't won a race yet this season, he's still running consistent. He's actually tied for the most top 10s this season, believe it or not, with 14. I don't know if any of you guys know that, but yes, he is tied for the most top 10s this year. So although he's not winning races, he is still very, very consistent. And you never know. I know he doesn't have a lot of playoff points, but if he runs with that kind of consistency, that could still get him to the championship 4. Championships in Phoenix, one of his better racetracks. You can look at a guy like Kevin Harvick maybe being the first driver to win a championship under the 16-driver playoff format without a win this season. You could also say the same for Denny Hamlin because of the consistency he's had this year, also with 14 top 10s. A lot more top 5s than Kevin Harvick. That's been the one thing lacking for him is he's got 6 top 5s this year, which still isn't bad. I mean, he's in the top 10 in the amount of top 5s he's got this season. He's still 9th in the regular season standings. And he hasn't led a lot of laps this season either. Only 39 laps led. So again, I don't think he's going to contend for the win as much, but I do think he's going to have a very good day. He's going to get stage points. He's going to finish in the top 10, much like Kurt Busch. I think Kurt Busch probably has a better chance to win this race than Kevin Harvick, but Kurt Busch is more of a sleeper, I'd say, than Harvick, because although Harvick hasn't won a race this year, some people might consider him being a sleeper. He's still in the top 10 in points, still very consistent, so you can't put Harvick as a sleeper pick, in my opinion, for that reason. He's not sleeping on me, at least. Maybe sleeping on the rest of the people watching these races every week, but he's not sleeping on me, and I think Harvick's going to have a good day. That's maybe a driver you haven't used a lot this season as well. I think you definitely use Kevin Harvick in your lineup today. Must have. He will be in my lineup. He should be in yours as well. Another driver who is a must have in this race today is Kyle Busch. We've talked highly of Kyle Busch a lot lately, and he obviously has deserved the credit. He's been very underrated this year. A lot of people are looking at a driver from Hendrick Motorsports winning the championship this year. Not just Kyle Larson, but maybe somebody at Hendrick as a whole, because they've been that dominating this season. But Kyle Busch, in my opinion, is the second best driver so far this year, and he isn't even with Hendrick Motorsports. As far as the 550 tracks go, not only this season, but stretching into last season as well, do you guys want to know the last race that was on a 550 track? And you have to stretch back to last season that Kyle Busch has not finished in the top 10 in. You'd have to go back to Kansas last July, almost a calendar year ago, was the last time that Kyle Busch finished outside the top 10 on a 550 racetrack. And where did he finish that day at Kansas? He finished 11th. Then he finished 4th at Texas the week before that. So he has been ungodly on these 550 horsepower tracks. I know he doesn't like the package. He talks very down on the package. A lot of people do. But regardless of the fact he doesn't like this style of racing, but he is very good at it. As far as this season goes, here are his finishes on 550 racetracks. A win at Pocono, a second at Pocono, a ninth in the 550 race before that, a third, first at Kansas. He got his first win of the year there, fifth and third. Also 10th at Homestead earlier this year also. So he has finished in the top 10 every single race this season on the 550 package races, and he's finished 14 straight races going back to last season on 550 racetracks. 3 wins in that stretch too, because he won Texas last season also. So look for Kyle Busch to have a very, very strong day. He will be a contender for the win. I do think obviously he's going to run top 10 all day. I think there's a good chance he can win this race. Again, he's got 2 wins on 550 tracks this season. He won the last 550 track last year at Texas. So he's been very good with this style of racing, despite, bashing it a lot and not running as particularly well with it. Look out for Kyle Busch today. If you have him, use him. Well, I'm guilty to that to a certain extent because I'm not using him today, but that's because I only have one more usage left of him this season. If you have more, I'll say this. If you have more than one usage left for Kyle Busch, use him. If you have one usage left for him, this is not going to be a bad racetrack to use it. Also, I didn't even mention he ran the Xfinity and won the Xfinity Series race yesterday. So he, much like Austin Dillon, has more track experience this weekend under the sun on hot Atlanta itself. So look out for Kyle Busch to maybe contend for the win with this other guy that I'm about to mention. He is also my win pick, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, my pick to win here today. I've been on a hot streak. I predicted the right winner in 5 of the last 7 Cup Series races. That includes picking Larson in 3 of those 5 races. But at the same time, he has gotten the job done, and I think he's going to get the job done today. He's the heavy favorite, not only with Vegas odds, not only with the fans, but me as well. I guess I'm a fan too. But regardless of the fact, me as well. He's got 4 straight top 12 finishes at Atlanta. And in the last 2 Atlanta races he has ran, both with this package again, 2019 and earlier this season in 2021, he has led over 140 laps. 142 laps led in 2019's race, also won a stage in that race as well. And then he also won 2 stages and led 267 laps at Atlanta earlier this season in 2021. Finished second in that race. He didn't finish too well in 2019. We had a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops. I was there that race in person. Him and Blaney were running up towards the front in the final stage. They were some of the first drivers that hit pit road. Then there was a caution in the middle of green flag stops that kind of put him back in traffic. Larson was actually able to get back into the top 12, which was impressive considering that he was a lap down at one point. Blaney was not able to get that lap back by the end of the race, unfortunately. But look for Larson to contend, obviously today. I think that Kyle Larson's going to win this race. Again, there are arguments for other drivers. I don't think it's set in stone that 100% Kyle Larson is going to dominate this race like he did earlier this season and win. He could very well still do that, and I wouldn't be surprised. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we did see a guy like Kyle Busch win today. I think if you had to pick one driver to beat Kyle Larson today, I'd throw my money on Kyle Busch. His odds of winning are, a lot better if you're a betting man as well. So, yeah, look for Kyle Busch. Tim Irvin, welcome to the stream. Ice, welcome to the stream as well. Let's go Blaney. Yeah, let's go Blaney. I'm pulling for him. I was pumped when he won here earlier this season. I'm pumped for today's race, knowing he won the last race here. But I didn't talk about him today. I didn't put him as a must-have, even though I do think he is a good pick for your fantasy team today. He wasn't in that top tier list like those other three drivers are. He does have two straight top fives here. He finished fourth last season. He finished in first, obviously, this season. And even 2019, like I mentioned, he had led laps late in the race, was leading, and then a pit stop under the final stage had costed him because the caution came out in the middle of green flag pit stops and trapped him a lap down. I think he finished 22nd in that race, if I'm not mistaken, but he led I think I looked at it earlier. He led 42 laps in that race, and they were in the final stage, so he was looking good. So with this package, especially at Atlanta, Ryan Blaney is very good, but I do expect something good out of him today. But yeah, again, not a bad pick for your lineup. And also, Patrick, to go back to your question, if you're still watching, Martin Truex Jr., I did not talk about him as well. He's starting at the rear. I think of the drivers I named, those are probably better drivers to start for your guys' team today. Truex did pick it up last weekend on a road course, getting a top 10. But if we look at Truex's stats this season, I didn't want to put him in the don't haves because I put him in the don't haves last week and he proved me wrong. But I mean, recent races have not gone particularly well for him. A ninth at Road America and a third at Sonoma are his only two top tens in the last 10 races, if you include the All Star race, where he also finished outside the top 10, 13th. But with that being said, the mile and a half racetracks have gone better for him outside of Charlotte. Charlotte, he finished 29th, but Kansas, he finished 6th. 9th at Atlanta, 6th at Vegas, and 3rd at Homestead. So he's finished in the top 10 in all but one race of the mile and a half so far this season. It's not a bad start. I think there are definitely better options, but that could be a confident driver with him being a former champion. We know he does particularly run well on mile and a half. So you look back in 2017 when he won the championship, he had an average finish on mile and a half right around 2. So, that just goes to show he knows how to drive these mile and a halves very, very well, especially since being with Toyota, particularly with Furniture Row Racing into Joe Gibbs Racing, but still. I definitely look for Truex to possibly have a good day. No set predictions on him, though, because I make predictions for 8 to 9 drivers every week. So if I start making predictions for everybody, at some point I'm going to get predictions wrong. Or more of them wrong, I should say. I missed red, white, and blue Atlanta. Well, yeah, usually they have, it's usually the full Diviner Quick Trip 500, so usually it's very very patriotic race, despite it not really falling on a patriotic race weekend. Used to be ran on Labor Day as well there for a couple years towards the end of the regular season in the Chase era. I think this is the most stacked the Cup Series has ever been. I wouldn't say ever, but as far as like parity goes, we've seen a lot of that this season. But at the same time, you look at like the beginning of a season, and not just this year, but you look at the beginning of a season pretty much every year, or virtually every year, you see, this plethora of drivers winning a lot early in the season. Then by the time you get middle of the season, you see what you see out of Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch in recent weeks, where you start to see your championship favorites as the season winds on. Truex Truex will finish top 36. Watch him finish like 38th with a mechanical failure now, just because he said that, Ice. I wish they didn't paint the walls ugly green color and yellow color. Yeah, they did it for the Quaker State 400. I didn't even see that till a little bit ago. I was watching a video NASCAR uploaded, and I was like, oh, they painted the walls green. But they did that with Kentucky when they had the Quaker State 400 these last few years, too. So I think it's probably a sponsoring thing where they probably paid them enough money to say, hey, paint the walls green. I don't know. That's my best guess. I mean, I like this era is the most stacked. I no, I can't say that really because there's only one driver who has won more than one championship racing currently. Like if you look back even 10 years ago when you had Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon still racing, along with your veterans now like Harvick and Bush, and I would say that was probably more stacked than now. But I think over the last like 2 to 3 decades for sure. Cap 24, I think Larson will win. Yeah, he's my prediction to win. Just think about this though. How hard it is to predict the right winner because anything could happen. I mean, you can look at like what happened to Larson if you picked Larson to win the first Pocono race and that something like that happened. Like it's so hard to predict the right winner. I started 0 for 13 this year. I predicted 9 of the 36 races right last year, which was pretty good, I think, for starting the channel too. It was the first year making predictions on a week to week basis like that, and I had 9. Well, now I've got 5, and I think there's a good chance that I could get more. So you never know. How confident not to play Truex. Yeah, with him starting out back, that's not going to help. I think the stages are 80, 80, and well, no, it might be a little different because I don't know what the stages are. This is the first 400-mile race at Atlanta, I think, ever. I don't think they've ever had a 400-mile race before. I don't even know what the stage lengths are. Yeah, I was right. 80 laps in stage 1, 80 in stage 2. The last stage will be 100, 260 lap race. It'll be interesting to see what Elliott can do from the pole, but my prediction is him not finishing in the top 10. And again, they can prove me wrong. I've been wrong before. I just hope my predictions are right. That's all. But Kyle Larson starting up near the front, 6th. Kyle Busch is starting 2nd. See, a lot of these must-haves. Even Kurt Busch is starting 8th. He was one of the sleeper picks. Austin Dillon is going to start 11th with Larson going to the rear. So, all those like sleeper picks are starting up towards the top 10. Chris Buescher is the furthest back. He's starting 18th, but I still think he'll sneak in with the top 10. Even if he runs 15th the whole race, finishes 10th, my prediction will be correct. So, there you go. Are you going to commentate during the race? No, not today. No, that's why we did the truck race on Friday night. I wasn't going to be able to do the cup race. Well, I was going to be able to do it today, but I've been at the track the last 4 weeks, so I wanted to, watch it from the comfort of my own couch today without commentating it. Love Blaney, Kyle Busch better. He's my favorite. And Kyle Busch is undoubtedly. I think Kyle Larson has given him a run for his money just this year alone as being the most talented in the Cup Series today, but they're still very close. I mean, they're obviously 1-2, and that's kind of what we've seen this season, those guys going back and forth. I could definitely see a Kyle and Kyle show happening today between Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson. It seems like whenever those two finish first and second, Kyle Busch comes out on top more often than not, so that could be the case again today. I mean, look at Pocono. I know Larson wasn't in the contention to really win the race for the most part, but Larson still came from the rear to finish second in the second Pocono race. Kyle Busch happened to win on fuel mileage. So it just seems like Kyle Busch beats Larson when they finish 1 or 2 more often than not. I think Larson might have beat him in a Xfinity race when they finished 1-2 before, but in Cup races, I'm pretty sure when they've finished 1-2, Kyle Busch has won every single time. Larson's my main. Harvick, Truex, and Busch are my backups. Yeah. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. Definitely with Harvick and Kyle Busch. Well, both the Bushes, honestly. Both the Bushes are going to be contenders, I think, for the win today. Like I said, I I made my prediction that Kurt Busch is going to be finishing in the top 10, and I feel really high on Kurt Busch that he could actually finish top 5 today. I really do think he can do that. And usually for the sleeper picks, I don't go like that high up on him because it's a little risky, and that's why I said guaranteed top 10. Like my prediction cutoff line is always top 10. It's top 10 and then race winner are like my main predictions. I think Larson's my pick to win. And even if he finishes top 10, I still, got the must-have part of it, right? I just didn't predict the race winner right. It'd be interesting to see what Ross Chastain can do today, too, because he's starting inside the top 10. Chip Ganassi Racing as a whole has done a lot better recently. Obviously, he's coming off the top 10 at Road America as well. But it seems like the racetracks that Chastain has been getting better at has been the 750. Kurt Busch has been a little bit of both recently. Ross Chastain, he didn't run so hot at Pocono. He had the car, but he didn't get the finishes. He didn't finish the job at the end of the day, but he's closing in on the cutoff line. We'll talk about that a little bit too. This is going to be very interesting to see how the cutoff line points are going to shake up today. Because literally 3 of the 4 drivers around the cutoff line right now are all drivers I talked about today in a very high standpoint to where I think they're all going to finish top 10. Austin Dillon is 98 points above the cutoff line right now. Still sitting pretty comfortably. I think he's going to have a really good day. I think he's going to finish top 10, and he'll make it 4 straight a mile and a half. Chris Buescher's 25 points below the cutoff line. I think he's going to get a top 10. I think he will also make it 4 straight on mile and a half racetracks. And then Kurt Busch, I think he can contend for the win. He's 25 points above the cutoff line. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see for sure what those guys are going to do. Alrighty. Yeah, I'm not doing the live commentary today. I will be doing a NASCAR Heat 5 stream later tonight. We'll be at Kentucky for a 50% race on the NASCAR Heat 5 career mode. That will be the only live commentary you'll be seeing from me here today. But we will be doing that stream later on after the race tonight. If I beat someone in fantasy today, it'll be a miracle. Yeah, again, join the fantasy league if you haven't already. Even though you're not going to win the regular season championship, you still have a very good chance at winning the playoffs. Everybody's got an equal shot of winning the playoffs because they haven't started yet. You automatically qualify. All you got to do is be in the league, obviously, when it starts, and you'll have a good chance. But, yeah, dropping the green flag again, 3:48. We got a little less than 20 minutes now from the start of that race, but I'm pumped. And post-race analysis will be tomorrow, day after the race at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as always. So 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, we'll talk the post-race. We'll talk about how all 8 of those predictions went for today. Tomorrow, of course, we'll talk about it. See how the predictions stacked up. We'll see if I predict the race winner right. And let's see what else here. Obviously, chronological order. How the race went, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, what happened, what went down, who had issues, who ran well. Spotlight as much as we possibly can with everybody. And then at the end of it, we do power rankings every week. That changes on a week-to-week basis. My top 10 picks for the running for the championship, who's my most favorite, who's second, third, fourth, so on, all the way down to 10. So we'll talk about that as well. And as we get closer to the playoffs, of course, we'll talk about the playoff battle, how that has increased or decreased based off of this weekend. I think it's going to heat up. I really do think the playoffs are going to heat up after this week. I think all those guys on the cut line that I just talked about, Austin Dillon, Kurt Busch, and Chris Buescher, I think they're all going to have great days. So we'll see. That puts Tyler Reddick in a little bit of a scary situation. He finished 26th here earlier this season. And he has been running well. He has ran well in the mile and a half this year. It's just that race he didn't run well. But if he doesn't have a good run today, He's 75 points above the cutoff line, but Chris Buescher, I think he's going to have a good. I think it's guaranteed in my head at least. It's guaranteed Chris Buescher is going to have a good day. Tyler Reddick is up in the air a little bit. Only 10 drivers can finish in the top 10, and I think 3 of those sleeper picks will. And you still got your favorites like Kyle Busch and your Kyle Larson. I think Harvick's going to have a great day. I think Blaney's got a good chance to have a good day. Bowman could very well have a good day. Byron, I haven't really talked about at all. Obviously, he's been great on the mile and a half this year. Hamlin. So, I mean, there's only so much to offer there. But I think it's like, if Kurt Busch wins today's race, he's not my pick to win. But if Kurt Busch wins today, you can go back and say, wow, Keegan said he was going to run really, really well today. I do think he's got a great shot to compete for the win. If not, he's still going to run top 10 all day. But as a Matty D fan this season has been paying so far, I'm confident after last week we need a win. Yeah, Matt DiBenedetto on the outside looking into the playoffs right now. He's 74 points below 16th, which is Kurt Busch. He's probably going to have to win. And his best shot to win is going to be on a road course or Daytona on a super speedway. I don't see him winning on a mile and a half today. Actually, if we look at the rest of the schedule, after today, we only have one more 550 track before the playoffs, and that's at Michigan, which is the second to last race before the playoffs start. Yeah, he's probably going to have to win. Same with Suarez and Bubba Wallace. They're like all basically on top of each other in points. Ricky Stenhouse, too. Likely. Now, they could point their way in. It's not impossible, especially with Daytona being the regular season finale. If you're within 60 points going into Daytona, you reasonably still have a shot. You could point your way in. Anything could happen there. So it's not impossible by any means that they can point their way in. It's just unlikely. So you got to be thinking win if you're, those guys on back. Chastain 69 back. You almost got to be thinking the same thing for him too. But it's not impossible to point their way in. We still got 6 races. That's a long time. Well, that's, do my math in my head quickly. 360 points that you could score in these last 6 races still. Trevor Grimes, welcome to the stream. Need to change the rule that 20 drivers can finish. Jeez. How do I join? If you're talking about fantasy, you could go to the NASCAR mobile app or website. There is if you go on the website, it's like fantasy right on the bottom right. If you download the NASCAR mobile app, or if you have the NASCAR mobile app, just go to fantasy. It's on the bottom right. You sign up with your email, free to enter, and search for KRC League and join. We're going to close the stream off here in about 5 minutes, guys. That way I can get downstairs, get the TV powered on before the race starts, get my snacks and stuff before the race starts. But, the green flag's dropping in about 15 minutes. Oh, my goodness. I'm glad I just saw this, but it did not save my my bonus picks. It did that with me earlier this season. I can't remember what race it was, but there was another race I didn't have any bonus picks in. That was a close one. It better save this time. It costed me like 20 points that day, too. I don't know why it does that. I don't know if it's my phone or if it's the app that does that. I've never had issues with the app prior to this season. This is the second time I didn't do it. This time I caught it, though. I picked the wrong manufacturer to win. There we go. Make sure my team is right. Okay, everything's saved now. Got the Candyman, Kyle Busch. I think it's pretty obvious. You watching the race? Obviously. Also, is there live No, again, no live commentary for the race today. I still plan on doing, I believe, 5 cup races before the end of the season. Just not today. 5 cup races and 1 more Xfinity race. That would take 6 weekends, and we only got 15 race weekends after this. So I'll leave 9 left over. I'm going to 4 races still before the end of the year, so that would be 10 weeks. So yeah, 6 more races I'll watch from either my grandparents or the comfort of my own house, whatever I choose. All right, yeah, I think that's just gonna wrap it up. We're basically just rambling on at this point. No more questions down in the chat that I've seen that I haven't answered that I could find, other than who was on your team, so I could copy it. I did not see that earlier. You can see who's on my team once the race starts. You just go where it says like the live results and stuff. You click on anybody in the league and see what their team's like. But it is locked up. Obviously, the must-haves I have on my team, except for Kyle Larson because I can't start him the rest of the year, and Kyle Busch because I only have one more start with him left. So the must-haves I'm telling you to start is if you have any starts left this year of Kyle Larson, even if you only have one, this is the week you start him. And for Kyle Busch, if you have more than one, you should absolutely start him this week. And even if you have just one with Kyle Busch, I do think he's going to contend for the win, so it's still a good pick. Biggest threat in fantasy to winning the championship? Beans, I can't see your guys' lineups today. I mean, anybody could still win this championship. I mean, that's the crazy thing. We got 13 in the league, but the top 6 are all within about 150, all within 140 points, 130. Yeah, 128 back to 6th. All mathematically still have a shot. And even Ethan back in 7th still mathematically has a shot. He's a couple hundred back. But if you're within 200 points going into Daytona, again, Daytona, anything could happen in that race. You mathematically have a shot to win the regular season championship. Must have a big house. I don't have a ginormous. It's a nice size house. I mean, we got 4 people living in it, so it's got to be decent size, I guess. Alrighty. Yep. So again, like, share, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. No official start time on tonight's live stream for NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode. It'll be 134 laps at the Kentucky Speedway, so it'll be a quick one. You won't want to miss it. Hit that bell notification button so you guys don't miss it. Also, like, share, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. 2 nights ago, we just hit 900 subscribers on the channel. Road to 1,000, most importantly, road to becoming a NASCAR commentator down the road, of course. So thanks to everybody for your support. And the post-race analysis edition of the NASCAR Fantasy Podcast, again, will be tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoy the race here today. I know I will, as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later tonight.